Welcome to Friday's edition of Political Roundup on Voice of the People TV. I am your host, Jerry Oppenheim. Welcome once again to the Political Roundup, your premier source for navigating the intricate web of today's political landscape. Our team of seasoned analysts is here to provide you with in-depth analysis and comprehensive overviews of the critical issues shaping our society. Join us as we delve into the complex discussions, offering insight and expertise to ensure you are well prepared to engage with the most significant conversations of the day. We'll start with renowned human rights advocate and senior lawyer Femi Falana, SEN, has urged the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to engage in dialogue with the young Nigerians driving the ongoing nationwide End Bad Governance protest. Falana spoke yesterday emphasizing the need for the government to listen to and address the grievances of the youth and who have been vocal about their discontent through peaceful demonstrations. We go further where the lawmaker representing FCT in the National Assembly, Senator Ireti Kingibe, has denied sponsoring the ongoing End Bad Governance protest in Abuja. A video had gone viral alleging that she was sponsoring the protest, but the senator described it as misinformation. Still more, where the military today warned the looters taking advantage of the End Bad Governance nationwide protest to desist from the destruction of lives and properties. At a press conference in the nation's capital, Abuja, on the second day of the rallies against economic hardship and high cost of living, the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS, General Christopher Musa, said the extent of destruction experienced on the first day of the demonstrations was crazy. Away from that, where the Amnesty International has urged the Nigerian government to investigate the killing of 13 protesters by security personnel across the country. The human rights group listed the states where the fatalities occurred, including Niger State, Borno, and Kaduna. The organization condemned the violent crackdown on peaceful protesters, describing it as unjustified and unacceptable. It alleged the security personnel used tactics designed to kill, including the misuse of tear gas, and called for those responsible to be held accountable through fair trials. Right after this brief pause, we'll delve further into these topics and more. Stay tuned as our discussion unfolds. Welcome back. Let's now delve into the heart of our discussion. We started earlier by talking about the renowned human rights advocate and senior lawyer Femi Falana, who has urged the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to engage in dialogue with the young Nigerians driving the ongoing nationwide End Bad Governance protest. He emphasized the need for the government to listen to and address the grievances of the youth, who have been vocal about their discontent through peaceful demonstrations. He reaffirmed that the right to peaceful protest is a fundamental constitutional entitlement of citizens which should be exercised without fear of intimidation or reprisal. Falana, however, cautioned that it is essential for the protest to remain peaceful to achieve their intended objectives. Falana criticized the government of Lagos and Ogun State, as well as the Federal Capital Territory Administration, for hastily obtaining court orders to limit protesters to specific areas within their jurisdictions. The lawyer argued that judges should refrain from issuing orders that are unlikely to be obeyed, as this would undermine the judiciary's credibility. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by two esteemed guests. Here in the studio, we have Mr. Peter Anosike. Mr. Anosike is a philosopher, development economist, and best-selling author. He is also an erudite commentator on economy, finance, politics, and power. Great to have you on Political Roundup.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and of course, it's also possible that eventually we'll be having Mr. Dele Fanimo joining us virtually He is a seasoned journalist with over 3 decades of experience. Mr. Fanimo is not only an administrator but also a respected political affairs commentator and social critic. But we'll make do, first of all, with Mr. Peter Anosike. All right, first of all, let's go to you. Femi Falana has called for dialogue between the government and the protesters. Do you believe the current administration will be genuinely open to engaging with the youth?
They have no alternative. They should negotiate with the youth because the youth has shown that this is not a social media thing. They have shown that that this is not a TikTok thing, that they are real. It was a massive success nationwide. So government should do the needful, and the needful is to negotiate with them, and again answering to their needs, which to me is not out of this world. At least some of them, the youth have sent their message, well-structured message, both in words and in action. And everybody in the country has acknowledged that there's hardship in the country. The president has done that, the vice president has done that, the senate president has done that. All the governors have done that. So this is the key thing that they are demanding. So it's now for the presidency to negotiate with them so that they can go back, because without peace, there can never be development. And for the opt-in time, I'm calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to address the nation, because this cannot be happening, and he will be comfortable that in his home. I remember some time ago when there was the French president, Emmanuel Macron, was on a state visit to another country, and a 17-year-old boy was stabbed in Paris. Macron has to cancel that state visit and rush back to his country. This is just a 17-year-old boy that was stabbed. He didn't die. But now we are hearing that 13 people have lost their lives, and the president is still sitting comfortably in his home. That's whatever he is. So for me, it's high time they negotiate with these youths so that so that things will begin to go on in the country.
All right, if there's to be a dialogue, what should be the kind of conversation that the government should be having with the protesters?
They have about 14-point demand. So the ones that require immediate action, government should take immediate action. Then the ones that will take some gestation period, government will give a promise with a timeline. We are going to do ABC within 3, 4, 6, 5 months. Understand? But those that require immediate action should be taken immediately. That is the way about it, because the youth have spoken on behalf of the Nigerian masses. The youth spoke for the voiceless Nigerians. They spoke for the elderly who is too weak and too old to come out and protest. So the government should address their needs.
All right, so the government should attend to their needs. And Falana criticized the government of Lagos and Ogun State for seeking court orders to restrict protest locations. How do these legal maneuvers impact the legitimacy of the judiciary and the public's trust in its impartiality?
Well, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I used to respect judges. But since the dawn of this democracy from 1999, judges, for me, lost their respect. The aura that they used that to have, understand, as erudite, respected people in the society. You don't see judges in your parties. You don't see judges in the market. Anywhere you see them, they respect themselves. And they don't even mix with the people. When I was in Nsukka, I know of a chief judge then. In the entrance of his house, there's a bold inscription, visitors are not allowed here. Because that is to maintain the sanctity of the law. Because when people are trooping in, trooping out, it can be misconstrued. It can be misinterpreted. Understand? Any day he gives unpopular judgment, they will say, yes, he has been bribed. But when they stay on their own, people respect them. Because when you become too available, you lose this respect. So our judges have made themselves too available to the politicians. They don't have respect anymore. One day I come across that's a top APC chieftain. He told me that in his phone, that all the phone numbers of the judges in the country are there. That he was boasting to me that this phone that he's holding, that the phone number of all the judges in the country is in that phone. So, but he doesn't know the message that he was passing. So he was trying that to show me that he is tough, but he is belittling our judges.
Yeah.
So for me, given all this, before we know that judgments are not supposed to be given beyond 5:59 p.m. But today, judges stay till 8-9 waiting for a judgment to issue a counter judgment by 10 p.m. Then how do you expect me to respect this kind of people?
All right, I'm talking about the injunction that was the court order that was gotten by the FCT minister and as well as Lagos. Did you think that move was actually needed, or was it a success? Did they achieve anything by having a court order to restrict the protesters?
Do you know the analogy I have for that injunction is, you beat me. You go that to court to get an injection that I shouldn't shed tears. Is it possible?
Definitely not.
It's not possible. So it cannot work. The only language that a hungry man understands is food, not injunction. And you cannot tell him where to go or not to go, provided he's not coming to your house. So this is peaceful protest, which is one of our civic responsibilities. Your injunctions cannot work on it. And that's why it wasn't obeyed, both in Lagos and in Abuja.
All right, let's go back to Mr. Dele Fadimo. We understand he's now with us. Mr. Dele Fadimo is a seasoned journalist with over 3 decades of experience. Mr. Fadimo is not only an administrator, but also a respected political affairs commentator and social critic. It's great to have you on this auspicious second day of the End Bad Governance protest on Political Roundup.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here again.
All right, we're just talking about Falona's comments on the protest, talking about the government making hay while the sun shines in terms of engaging the youths who are at the forefront of the End Bad Governance protest. They said that the government should take a move as quickly as possible. And if you take a look at it, what's your take on Falona's comment that the government should have dialogue with these protesters? Do you believe the administration will be genuinely open to engaging with the youth?
Hello, please. Can I have your question back? I think that was a network disruption.
Okay, sorry about that. Once again, Femi Falana has called for dialogue between the government and protesters. Do you believe the current administration will be genuinely open to engaging with the youth?
I think I have that confidence in this. Traditional rulers, clerics, and even labor and all that. And the fact that they had to speedily sign the new minimum wage into law shows that the government is feeling the heat and they don't want anything that will rock the boat. It shows that they are open to dialogue, and I would sincerely advise that that window should be exploited by the government and the protesters. So to that extent, I want to say I wholeheartedly support and I believe that things can be worked out.
Still with you, Mr. Dele Falemo. Given Falano's warning about maintaining peaceful protest, what steps should both the government and protesters take to ensure that demonstrations remain non-violent while effectively addressing the underlying issues?
Well, if you notice that, unlike in the past, except for pockets of
All right. Hello, Mr. Dele Falemo, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I said, apart from pockets of violence in Yobe and a few other states that resulted in imposition of curfew, largely the police had been the one handling these protests, creating a civil engagement with the protesters. So it shows that government also believes that it is only when things get hurry that we can now bring in the military into the fray. I was watching the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, this morning, trying to appeal to the protesters that they should allow government, give government time to address some of those grievances so that things can get better. So it shows that unlike the past, when you see every presence of soldiers, naval personnel, and even Air Force personnel roaming the seas, you will only have only policemen in most of the states where this protest is taking place. So it shows that government is also liberal to that extent. So I want to also say that it's a way of showing that, because the way the policeman is trained is not the way the soldier is trained. Soldiers are trained to face external aggression, and their rules of engagement is different from that of the policeman, who is trained to handle civil disobedience and criminality. So I want to commend government for not deploying soldiers into the streets.
All right, let's go to Mr. Arosike. What's your take on talking about maintaining peaceful protest? What should the government and the protesters be doing to ensure that demonstrations remain non-violent while effectively addressing these issues?
I want to say from the word go, Mr. Fonemo and I at least have been in this business of covering protests for more than 20 years. And we know that from the beginning, there's nothing like a protest turning violence. That is never in the agenda. That is never in the agenda from the point of takeoff anywhere. The mandate is going to be peaceful. Because these people are patriots. They are lovers of the country. They want things to go well. So they are not criminals. So, but this is social studies and not science. So you cannot predict. You cannot have everything under control. You might make your arrangements at the end of this. Human error, human factor will come and truncate it. So you can see from the beginning, everywhere it was peaceful. But as it is going on, some criminal elements who will now come in with ulterior motives, maybe going to see to vandalize or to destroy properties. This is never that's on the table at all. Or police may get overzealous and begin to throw tear gas or even shoot. In the advanced countries, you don't use knife bullets on protesters. But in Nigeria, they use it, which should not be. I feel that protests will continue in this country. I pray that this one ends this night. But it doesn't mean that maybe in the next 3 or 4 years, there cannot be protests. So I want Nigeria police to be trained on how to handle protesters. Because in America, they are protesting upon that they have been over 300 years or 200 and something years after independence. So Nigeria will still continue that to protest. So Nigerian police should know how to handle protesters. You accompany them. When they want to derail, you straighten them. But when you begin to, if you read the amnesty report, they stated that those that were killed, that the killing was intentional, and it shouldn't be. In America, about 3 or 4 months ago, there were protests in most of the universities in the United States. Nobody was shot down. Nobody was killed. When Benjamin Netanyahu came to the Congress about a week ago, there were protests in the U.S. Congress, Capitol. Nobody was shot down. So Nigeria police should be trained on how to handle protesters. One, they are patriots. They love this country and they want things to go well for this country.
All right, back in those days, we used to have the mobile police who were anti-riot trained. What happened to the anti-riot mobile police back in the military era?
Well, I don't really know if they were anti, but a lot of evolution will continue happening in the society.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't know whether they have gone extinct or they have evolved in.
We no longer see them. These days we see plain policemen handling riots. But back in the days, we used to have mobile police force that were trained to effectively manage riot situation. Maybe because we stopped having riots and protests for a long while.
No, we should be having riots. It's important.
Okay, and maybe because, I don't know, maybe because we've not been having them after the military era, and maybe, I don't know, they decided not to take it, have a continuity with that. Well, going back to Mr. Dele Fadimo, Fadimo's call for dialogue suggests a significant disconnect between the government and the youth. What does this divide reveal about the state of governance and political engagement in Nigeria today? It looks like the youth have been cut off for a while, in terms of the way they've handled the situation that led to this end bad governance protest. And let's not forget, successive past governments have always taken the closeness to the youth seriously. We never had a situation in the earliest part of this democracy where the youth were always agitated. We've seen end SARS. Now we're going with end bad governance. What can be done to make sure this disconnect is dealt with once and for all so the youth will feel carried along in terms of whatever plan the government has towards the future?
You will be shocked if I have to say this, but it's the truth. You know, I always come up with different solutions to some of these problems.
Yes.
Do you know that the removal of history as a subject in secondary school is the primary reason why the youth can't connect with our generation? Till today, they still study European history in any part of Europe. But over 17 years ago, they expunged history as a course in the curriculum of secondary school and replaced it with civic education. Civic education is not the same thing as history. Now, youth today, they call themselves Gen Z. They don't have that depth to know how we attained independence. They don't even understand where we are coming from. So it's difficult for them to situate situations the way they should, giving it the right perspective. That's one. Now, if you don't have history behind you, whatever you see an elderly person doing, you consider it as archaic. And so you are not ready to submit as a mentee to a mentor. I remember in one of the interviews I had with Adedibu of blessed memory in Ibadan, he said he started as a thug under the tutelage of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and later Adelabu, now who they call Penkelemes. Now, he already had submitted himself to be a mentee under Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Chief Adelabu Penkelemes. Look at the trajectory. But how many youths today are ready to go through that route? So there is no way there won't be disconnect between our generation and the Gen Z generation. The only thing they relate to is social media, and social media does not have the luxury of taking them back to 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, and more. So there will always be that disconnect. And until they bring back history, there was a time they said they wanted to bring it back, but I asked about 4 months ago from a student in a secondary school, and they said, no, they are not taught history. Today, some of our generation, we have a mental picture of Mali, Mansa Musa. We have the Songhai Empire, the old Oyo Empire, that we were not even born when those things. We had the great people that lived in those places in those years. You can situate what Ghana is today with Kwame Nkrumah. You have Haile Selassie and all that. But today, the only thing they know is Elon Musk, Dangote, which is all around wealth and not the other way around.
Not nationalism. So, yes.
You know, they don't even know anything about nationalism
or patriotism.
They don't even understand patriotism.
Yes.
So how would you connect that kind of generation with the previous generation? It's not possible. Ask a 32-year-old boy today who was MK Abiola And you'll be surprised the answer he will give you, as recent as 1993. So that's the problem.
So, okay, let's go to the status scale with that question. The disconnect between the government and the youth. We've seen what happened with NSAS. Everything is now end. Now it's end bad governance.
The next could be end Nigeria. But
Hopefully not.
But we shouldn't pray.
We shouldn't get to that.
And so government should be on their toes.
So does it mean that with this government, or would I say we did not take lessons from what happened at the NSAS situation, at the NSAS protest?
You know, when Fenda sang that song, VIP, Vagabonds in Power, understand? Vagabonds are people who doesn't understand history, who doesn't know history, who cannot connect yesterday and today. And when you don't have yesterday, you cannot function very well today. That is where we are. Because one, people don't study the how society evolves. If they are studying, Tinubu should have known that those traditional rulers that he was inviting for the meeting don't have that control anymore over the youth. He should have known that going to call those traditional rulers, they don't have any more control over the youth, because one, the role of those traditional rulers are lost in today's world. What they are doing, their functions, the current world don't understand it. So that's as the society is evolving, you should try to be studying. I remember in the university as a student when that was in the 90s. Nigeria youth were emulating American youth. That was when this bodybuilding thing was reigning. Then Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. So every evening, people were rushing to the stadium, gymming, that's doing bodybuilding. So after that, they were being used as bouncers, gate keepers during practice, and so on and so forth. So, but they did not know, they did not notice that guns were entering into the university. Those bouncers were so focused on their muzzles that they didn't know that guns are coming into the university. And when that guns came, it took them unawares. Then they now have to change from the tight-fitted t-shirts that they were wearing to a standard shirt, because that time their bodybuilding has no effect where gun is. But if they were watching the society, how the society is evolving, they should have evolved along it.
All right.
Understand? So it is good for people to know yesterday, because if you don't know yesterday, you will not even know tomorrow.
All right, let's go to the next conversation quickly because of time. The lawmaker representing the FCT in the National Assembly, Senator Ireti Kingibe, has denied sponsoring the ongoing End Bad Governance protest in Abuja. A video had gone viral alleging that she was sponsoring the protest, but Senator Kingibe described it as misinformation. She said on X, "I am shocked," and I quote, and outraged by the blatant lies and misinformation being spread by mischief makers. The video being circulated is from over 6 weeks ago during the Labour Party National Working Committee meeting when the NLC was protesting outside the Labour Party office. All right, going to Mr. Dele Fanimo. Do you believe Senator Ireti Kingibe's denial of sponsoring the End Bad Governance protest credible given the viral video, and if you have seen it?
Well, let me tell you straight that you know that there has been no love lost between Senator Kingibe and
Yes,
Nyesom
on
Wike.
Wiki. Yes. It's well documented.
Is well documented.
Yeah.
And you know the kind of rascality that Wike displays. So it won't be beneath Wike to want to blackmail Kingibe using this kind of plots. I've always said it anywhere I go that Wike is not somebody I really respect or reckon with. Is like, for me, is like somebody who just happened on government. And when you look at his history, from being local government chairman, from Bringman Friday of Amechi, you know, you made him chief of staff and all that. He was giving Amechi problem. That's why he nominated him to go to Abuja as minister so that he can leave Rivers for him. And immediately he connected with Madam Jonathan. He forced himself on Rivers as governor. So whatever he's doing, for me, sometimes I ask myself, how did this man even pass through law school and come out as a lawyer? Because the way he displays his actions, his mien, his gait, everything, it does not portray somebody holding this kind of high offices. So for me, it's just trying to call a dog a bad name to hang it. I don't see, with the pedigree of Kingibe, Senator Kingibe, I don't see her being the mastermind of this protest.
All right, Mr. Peter Nosige, take a look at it. Talking about misinformation has been one of the major issues in this protest, and it also happened during the NSAS. A lot of misinformation caused a lot of problems, and so on and so forth. Some have been making allegations about some ethnic group, and so on and so forth. We all know how it all ended prior to the 2023 election, and now this issue of Kingibe, and of course we also know the issue of Peter Obi, who was also in a video that was used to misinform the public that he was actually a part of the protest, which eventually released a statement to debunk and, of course, clear the fact. But those who have been misinformed already would have taken that information hook, line, and sinker.
Some time ago, as a journalist, one day I opened my email. I saw a kind of a press statement that the caption, Boko Haram, Babangida is our sponsor. Understand me? Babangida is our sponsor. So, at that time, Babangida was 75 years. So I asked myself, what will Babangida stand to gain by sponsoring a Boko Haram? He has been a president for 8 years. So why would he sponsor Boko Haram? So when something happens, just ask yourself, what is the motive behind this? So why should Ireti Kingibe sponsor protest? And if you read the Wike's statement, it was childish and stupid. That one of the sponsors of the end government has been found and will be invited soon.
Questioning.
Will be invited soon for questioning. So you saw somebody who's sponsoring this, and you will take time to announce that the person will be invited soon. That shows you that he's not thinking. Well, he has told Nigerians that he drinks 40 years old whiskey. Even though I don't know the decade of Deda Fadimo own, but we can say that his own is 40 years. So the issue is this: one, he has no reason to sponsor protest. She has no reason to sponsor. Imagine as I read the Wike's statement, I know that he's trying to cook up something. So Mr. Fadimo talked about him as a local government chairman. He became local government chairman in 1999. But before then, he was collecting taxes in the park.
As
He was a tax collector in the park, near some week in Port Harcourt. That was what he was doing before becoming a local government chairman of Obiakporo in 1999. So you can see his involvement. You can see how he, so he doesn't have a gentlemanly or a decent rights at all. This is he betrayed the fracas between Jonathan and Amechi was caused by Wike. So that is who he is, a serial betrayer. So Ireti Kingibe is not sponsoring any protest.
all right, finally, before we go, we're looking forward to tomorrow. That looks like day 3. After 2 days so far of the protest, and on the part of the government and on the part of the protesters, we've seen more reactions and so on and so forth after 2 days so far. And the fact that the way the government have been handling it, we are getting a lot of misinformation as well. Talking about those who we expect to get credible information from, for instance, are giving us, are we saying they're managing the situation well? Talking about the part of the government officials, and still we have not heard from the president. So far, so good. What do you expect going into the weekend on Saturday, day 3 of the protest, before we go?
Well, before I say what I want to say about the commencement or otherwise of the protest, let me quickly tell my friend that I don't have access to government till, so I take 18, not 40.
All right.
But for me, I think the protesters should shield their sword, and they should also back off when they would get applause. More so that they have scored their points, and their points are well noted by the general public and even the government. So they should just shield their sword, and let's continue to see how best we can handle the situation.
All right. Mr. Peter Anosike?
So unless things has changed, Mr. Fanamo should have pointed it out, because he is a guru in the industry. Protest doesn't happen on a weekend, Saturday, Sunday. You don't protest on Saturday, Sunday. So if there should be the throw, it should be on Monday. So you don't protest, you don't count the weekends, Saturday and Sunday.
The weekends are off days.
Yeah, off days.
I hope the protesters are listening.
So no, that is a tradition. Weekend are off days. They are to go and rest and regroup on Monday. But I'm telling them that they have passed their message. They have done well. Now let them wait for government. I don't want them to come out again on Monday, because it will provoke security agencies.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dele Fanima. We want to wish you all the best for the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday, hopefully.
It's my pleasure being here. Good night.
All right. Have a great one. All right, Mr. Anosike?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, have a great weekend as well. Of course, as we conclude today's political roundup, we thank you for joining us. Catch us again, same time next week on our YouTube channel, Voice of the People TV. Stay connected with us on our other social media platforms on at VOP TV Live. I am your host, Jerry Apelian. Thank God it's Friday.